family shattered by violence. A young woman's boyfriend now charged with her.
Now, the way how this girl died in this video will make you be careful on who you choose as a partner. But sometimes you don't see it coming. They're so loving and charming that when it does happen, it's all too late. Zack met Addie at this bar. Now at first, what Addie would do when they would meet each other is she'd be like the mean girl towards Zack because she was just testing him to see if you can handle her. Zack being Zack, he handled her just fine and she was okay with him. She liked him.
The young woman's boyfriend now charged.
The first red flag in this relationship was the friends around would notice something weird between the two. They just started hanging around each other these past couple weeks and they will fight often. So they didn't think that was gonna last long at all. But you know, being so in love in this honeymoon phase, you don't even see it. You skip the red flags in the beginning of a relationship. Hurricane Katrina came.
9th, 2005, Hurricane Katrina made landfall 63 miles southeast of New Orleans.
Yes, this is in my city, New Orleans. So when this hurricane came, they was like, you know what? We're not going to evacuate. We're going to stay and thug the whole thing out. Now, I was a little bitty baby around this time. I didn't stay. My family, we all left because this was the most dangerous and deadliest weather of all time.
This whole place is going underwater.
But they stayed. This storm got them closer together. No power, no internet. It was literally like you were surviving on the island, staying here for Katrina. That's how bad it was. And they had to be like this for weeks inside of a home. But they loved it so much. They loved the survival feeling that when this storm ended, they would go out in the streets and cook for people. These two couples felt like the king and the queen because even New York Times mentioned them on the news. That's how good this couple was doing during this time. And that's how good they was helping out. That they did not want this to end at all. But when time came, when the electric started coming back and the area of New Orleans started to get back into regular spirits, and after the cleanups, the floods, after everything done passed away, reality started to kick in for them again. Their old habits start to also kick in. Meaning that they will fight and fight and fight so often that it was just, they needed a break from each other. So they was like, you know what, this apartment has a lot of bad vibes and memories for us. Maybe we should just move out, move in a new apartment, and maybe this could rekindle things between the two. So they move in this new apartment, which was definitely a big mistake. Little do they know they needed to break up. And behind the scenes, Zack was cheating on Addie. She didn't know at first until she found out. I don't really know how she found out, but when she did, she didn't even want to live with Zack no more. It was like done for her. She wanted to kick him out the house.
Who is this woman? What's he seeing in her?
Then days would go by, and for work at this bar where the two met at, Zack would show up for work, but not Addie. And Zack would always have this hat on covering his face, his eyes, and everybody would ask him, what's wrong with your behavior, Zack? Why are you acting so weird? Not only that, where's your girlfriend? Where's Addie? She hasn't been showing up. Zack said, oh, yeah, we got into this big fight once again, as some of you may know, and she went back to North Carolina, where her family at, where she's originally from, so she's gone. But then what makes this story a little bit weird is there was a body on the roof of someone's apartment. So they called the police and the police came and they discovered this was a man's body that was laying actually on the ground. I guess it fell from the roof to the ground and they checked this body. But when they checked this person's body, they noticed it was a card in this person's back pocket. So they looked at it, they got the card and they read it. And in this note, this person was basically saying how, yeah, I unalived myself, but I had to take a life before I took my life. Basically, that's what the note was saying. And they said if you go in this apartment and you check in the oven, you will see a surprise inside of the oven. So when the police goes inside of this apartment, they look all around with these strange writings all over. But what stood out to them the most is the one that said, look in the oven. And they looked in the oven. Mind you, this place was very, very, very cold for a reason. So they opened the oven and they discovered that it was indeed Addie. What Zack would do is they would find another journal inside this apartment and they read this 8-page journal and Zack wrote good details about what he did to her, how he murdered her, and how he was trying to eventually then her. The best way to dispose her body in his eyes. But that didn't work, so he decided to just put the temperature really, really cold so that the smell wouldn't be as bad at all. And that man that was lying down, unalived on that side of the road, was actually Zack. He got on the roof and threw himself off the roof. That's how he wanted to go out.
So we didn't get a regular wedding cake. We decided on something that was special for us instead.
I love you, honey.
Now, if being on the boat is something that you are not terrified of at all, this probably changed your perspective. So there's this group, and it was a big group that went on this big boat. It was basically this ferry that gets them to point A to point B across the water. But as everyone in this boat was going from point A to point B, well, what happened was this ferry would start to lean. And when they got deeper out in the water, the ferry started to catch these waves very, very, very often, to the point to where if it was a big wave, the ferry had to turn just to avoid these big waves because of how far this ferry was leaning. Now, around this time, there's also cars and trucks that's also parked on this ferry. But as the ship is just going back and forth and rocking because of these waves, what eventually happened was all of the cars would lean to one side, and then when all of these cars leaned to one side, it started to sink. Because now the whole boat is tipping over. Altogether, it was 475 passengers with 325 students that was coming from school doing their boarding trip. You have all of these kids on this boat. The captain of the ship announces to everybody stay in your rooms, everything is perfectly fine. Me editing here, hi. So what y'all really have to understand is the students don't know that the boat is actually sinking. They just thinking that it's tipping over, and they found that it was fun and exciting.
Some crack jokes. One said, "This is fun."
In reality, this was the worst decision ever. They should have never stayed in their rooms, and they should have never just sat there and waited for further instructions. What they should have done, which what a lot of students was hoping to do, but they trusted the captain to stay in the room. Then they realized this is not a joke, this is serious, and they started panicking.
Others realized they were in serious trouble. One asked, "Should I call my mom?" I should say, "Mom, this might be the last words from me." Some struggled with their life jackets.
A lot of them wanted to run up on the ship because this was the only way to get up, and this was the only way that they can survive, really. But it was like, you know what? We're just gonna keep spamming the captain and calling these workers just in case, tell them to help us. But they wasn't getting no answer back because in reality, the captain was frozen up. All of the other workers were frozen up. Everybody was panicking and did not know what to do. Mind you, at first, the students didn't know the ship was sinking until they started to see water inside of the boat. That's when the calls started happening, and that's when it started to get terrifying for them. The first people to know that it was starting to sink was the captain and the workers. All of the other students just thought that, you know, these waves are crazy. So that's why the captain is telling us to stay inside the rooms. And by the time the captain announced this order of evacuation, it was already too late. It was hard for them to even move because the water is already so high up. Plus, the boat is completely on its side. But one person managed to get away and disobeyed what the captain said and was like, you know what, I'ma just do me because I can't trust nobody. So they climbed up to the top, which was the side of the boat, and this person survived. So basically the students who all disobeyed was the ones that survived, because it just wasn't that one student that went up to the top and survived. No, but the thing is, hundreds of students didn't make it. If all of these students would have just listened to their instincts, they all would have survived. And this person that survived said, yeah, when I climbed out from the side of the top, I looked down and what I seen was horrifying. It was too late for them, but all of them was trying to come up to where I came out from, but this massive water wave just hit all of them and they vanished. Of course, the diving team would come in and recover all of their bodies, and then there was a lot of crazy pictures because a lot of these students would take pictures during this disaster time. And this is around the time when the captain told them to stay in their room, so I guess they just wanted to take pictures just in case they didn't make it, or just in case they can tell a story of what happened to them, and it's just their final moments before everything turned completely left. Oh, and mind you, the captain, he survived. He ended up leaving the ship with hundreds and hundreds of students down at the bottom of the ship. This is around the time of the students taking pictures of them just sitting there, just waiting for instructions. Little did they know that they was on their own. The captain was going out of there. So of course, this place was extremely investigated, and they found out that almost everyone could have survived if they would have just evacuated to the top, which was climbing out the side immediately instead of sitting and waiting. To make you feel better, the captain was given a life sentence. I know that this probably upsetted a couple of you, but to make you feel better, relax, it's okay. It's okay. He got a life sentence. I know we can't get those lives back, but he's locked up. Here's what caused the ship to do this, by the way, because ships don't just start to lean over because of these waves. They would do these renovations on the ship that was very illegal, adding extra rooms, adding a lot of extra renovations to the ship that would cause the ship to be so unbalanced. When all along, all they had to do when they did this renovation was just test it before they made anybody get on the ship. And they would have immediately knew that this ship is extremely unbalanced. And it's just a tragic story of like a lot of students dying, leaving Earth shortly. Be thankful of life, because it's people that's going to go through it worse than you. And I know some of you probably going through it. That's why I gotta say that, because it's like, trust me, you don't have it the worst. And I'm still here for y'all. Message me if y'all need, if y'all want somebody to talk to, you know what I'm saying? For real, I'm here for y'all.
I just skirted off in your whip. Yeah, I just skirted off with your bitch.